Hello and welcome back to Becoming dot dot dot. This is a podcast where we talk about all about navigating through life's ups and downs because sometimes it can feel really lonely. So we're doing life together. If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Amelia, and I'm so happy that you decided to join today. Today is an unconventional episode because I want to talk about a few different things in one. I feel like usually I talk about one specific topic and I do my research and I give you the most I possibly can on that topic. But today is a little different. And the reason why I want to do something different is just because I have been going through it this February. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but something has just been going on where I feel like I'm under attack. It's just like everything happens at once. And sometimes you feel like you can't get up and breathe, like you're drowning and you can't get up for air. And that's how I've been feeling lately. But then again, there's also so many amazing things that happen at the same time. So it's like you're getting whiplash. Like 1 second, something amazing happens, and 1 second, you're drowning again. So today, I just want to talk about navigating through the waters and navigating through that up and down. Because that's what we talk about here. I mean, we're talking about becoming becoming the best versions of ourselves. And yes, sometimes that doesn't look pretty, and sometimes it requires a ton of tears, and sometimes it requires you to get up even when you're not feeling like you want to get up. And that's what I've experienced lately. Honestly, I feel like I've been really trying to get back to where I was with God when I first found my faith. Sometimes I feel like when you first learn about your faith and God and Christianity and you're so on fire for it, you want to do absolutely anything that you possibly can for God. You make all these promises and you say you're never going to go back to X, Y, and Z. And then slowly, time passes and you kind of start reverting. Not saying that you revert completely back to your old self, but some old habits might creep up or some old things might creep out. And I feel like that's been happening to me. I mean, when I first discovered God, if you listen to episode 2, you hear how I discovered my faith and what brought me back to God after years of kind of being just this lukewarm Christian. And I feel like I was so on fire, like I was volunteering for everything. I wanted to be a part of the church as much as I possibly can. I was doing everything. I was praying all the time. I got baptized. I signed up for mission trips. I was a leader within my church and I was doing all these things. And now I feel like I did this fast in January. And after the fast, I feel like I just kind of stopped praying as much. I stopped connecting with God as much. I let myself get really distracted with social media or television or whatever it was so that it took away from my time with God. And I even got really wrapped up with my relationship too. Like I got so wrapped up in that, I felt like I didn't pay as much attention with my relationship with God. And I kind of almost let that take a back seat. In this month of February, a lot of things have happened. It was my birthday, which was amazing. It was beautiful. I had so much fun with my friends, and they threw this beautiful party celebration for me, and it was so nice to be around loved ones. And amazing thing, I soloed an airplane for the first time, so I flew an airplane all by myself, and it was so amazing. But I'm also at the worst financial state that I've ever been in because school is really expensive and flight school is no joke. And I also am going through a breakup. And although these amazing things are happening, sometimes it's hard to see how great and how beautiful your life can be when on the flip side, you're feeling like you're drowning. You feel like you're going through all of these tough things at once, that sometimes it overshadows the really beautiful blessings that are in your life. I know for me, the last couple of weeks, I felt like I've had a pit in my stomach. I've been happy, I've been sad, and I just go back to the feeling of I need to reconnect with God. Throughout your life, you will always need to reconnect with God. You will never be as gung-ho or as on fire for God all the time, because so many things happen through life. There are millions of ups and downs. You will experience so many hardships, so many beautiful blessings, so many good things that sometimes you get a little lost in the sauce and you kind of forget all the blessings because you're looking and you're focusing on all of the negative. Throughout this podcast, I feel like I tell you that each episode is kind of like a building block for the next episode, or just in general, like all of our episodes kind of flow together. It's like all of these things are building blocks to become the better version of yourself, to become a more spiritual, more faithful version of yourself, to become the best version of yourself. And I'm learning as I'm talking to you, because again, we're doing this together. And I'm reminding myself that it's time for me to refocus and for me to get back into my word and to be on fire for God again, like I once was. And somehow I need to refocus from the negatives to looking at the positives. And you see, I have a pretty good handle on that. But we're human. And even if you can still see the light at the end of the tunnel is dark and it's hard to get through the tunnel. I mean, right now, I will tell you, and I'll be so vulnerable with you because I told you that this podcast is so personal and it's going to get personal. And I just share my whole life with you guys on here. But last night I was up crying. And although me and my ex, oh, that's weird to say out loud, but although me and my ex didn't end on bad terms, or there's no bad blood, and I wish him the absolute best, and I hope that he gets everything he wants out of life, it's still hard. It's not easy when you pictured your life to be something, especially with someone else, and it doesn't go according to that plan. Especially when one thing is on top of the other thing and it kind of feels like an avalanche, like it's just picking up more snow, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of these things are happening at once and you're like, God, what is going on? Why do I feel like this? What is happening? Why does everything have to happen all at once? I don't know if you've experienced that, but I know for sure I'm experiencing that right now. And at some point of your life, if you haven't experienced it yet, I'm sure you will, just because that's life. I've realized that there's a few things that you can do to kind of remind yourself of all the blessings, because sometimes it's really hard to remember. So in my notes on my phone, I have just a list of all the ways that I've seen God show up in my life. And I've wrote down pretty much every one that I've seen, because there's a lot of stuff that I know God does in the back and behind the scenes. But just the stuff I've seen. And I'm actually going to tell you about some because I think that they're just a beautiful thing to share. For example, something so crazy. I'm going to give you 2 examples. And these are things that there's just no way God wasn't in this. But here it goes. The first one that I want to share is there was one time I was in my apartment and the water was not working. There was no water. There was a tiny little trickle of water, but that was it. And I really wanted to take a shower. And I had no idea what was going on. I tried to YouTube things, go to my water heater, try to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out all these things. I messaged my landlord. I'm asking my landlord to come help me, but they're not answering. And I got a ring at my doorbell. And I don't answer the door. First of all, I don't answer the door to anyone because I'm a woman and that is scary. So I kind of ignored it. I looked at my Ring camera and I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know who this is. And this is some man. I'm not answering the door to some man. So I didn't open it. And then they left and then they kind of came back and they rang the doorbell again. And I heard on the Ring camera, him talking to someone else about water. And I was like, oh, maybe it's someone to talk about what's happening with the water. Something's wrong with the water. So I answered on my Ring camera and I was like, hi. And they were saying that they were shutting off the the water in my kitchen. And I was like, oh, well, does this have to do with the fact that my water, like I have no hot water, there's no water working? And he was like, oh, no, that has to be a separate problem. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Like, okay. And I was kind of telling him like what was going on through my Ring camera. I'm having this conversation with him, telling him what's going on. And he was like, oh, well, I can look at it for you if you want. And now let's pause there really quick because I'm like, okay, I'm home alone. I'm a woman. This is some grown man that I don't know knocking on my door. I don't really feel comfortable letting him in, but I do know, like, I know his truck is outside of the house. Like, I know it's outside. I know he's working with other people. And maybe if I FaceTime one of my guy friends, like, I'll be okay. So I'm like thinking about all this in my head and I'm like, all right, let me just open the door. I'll FaceTime my friend. If something happens, at least they're on FaceTime. I have cameras in my house. I think I'll be okay. So I open the door and this man comes in. He works on my water heater for about an hour, goes back to his truck, gets a new part, comes back, fixes the water heater, tells me what needs to be done, tells me what I should tell my landlord. And then I go to like give him money and he's like, oh, no, it's okay. Like, I don't need anything. Don't worry about it. And I was like, no, I insist. Like, please take my money. Like, you just fix this for me. He was like, no, have a blessed day. Like, God bless you. And it was so crazy to me because everyone says that God provides, God's your father, God cares about you. But to physically see someone show up to your door when you needed someone to help you, it's not a coincidence. And the fact that this man wouldn't even take a single dollar for helping me, that was God. And that was God providing and showing me that He's taking care of me. He's always there for me. There's another story that I have when I was traveling to Spain. And if you've heard episode 2, I ended up going to Spain right after the very traumatic part of my life happened, because I already had a ticket and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go and maybe it'll help me feel better because I'll be away from everything that's happening at home and maybe I'll feel a little better traveling and being in a new place. So I went and I traveled with this sparkly blue backpack from Victoria's Secret. You can't miss it. It has sparkles all over the bag. I've had it since I was like in middle school. And I had this big suitcase with me and I'm traveling, and after I got off the plane, I got on a subway. And once I got on the subway, I completely forgot the backpack in the subway. And inside of the backpack had my expensive G7X camera, American money, my Coach purse was inside that backpack, my Revlon hairbrush, my AirPods were in there, clothes and makeup, my full makeup bag was in there. All of these things where if I would have had to replace that, it would have cost about $800. Trust me, I checked. And I completely left it on the subway. Completely forgot about it. So now I go and I talk to the attendants of the subway and they're telling me, a form to fill out online. And they said, okay, well, we're going to look for the next 24 hours. If we don't contact you within 24 hours, it was most likely stolen, because that happens here a lot. So it didn't look good. 24 hours passed. I heard nothing from them. It didn't look good, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray every single night. Despite how bad it looks, I'm going to pray. And I did. And I sat there, I got on my knees, I prayed by the bed and I said, God, I know it doesn't look promising, but please, even if someone stole it, let them have a change of heart and give me back the backpack. I was so upset about it because I had all these things already in my head and my heart was heavy from everything that was happening at home. And now I lost my backpack and this was supposed to be an amazing trip. And I was so flustered and upset and sad. But despite all that, I prayed. And I decided to trust God. 3 days later, I get a call and my backpack was found. And you want to know the craziest part? When I got my backpack back and I looked at the G7X camera, there was a new picture taken on the camera. Someone had used the camera. So either someone stole the bag, decided to play with the camera for a little bit and give it all back. I don't care what the situation was. All I care was God provided. So those are just two examples of so many things that I've written down on this list in my notes app on my phone. And looking at that in times of distress, it helps me. Because although I've been going through a breakup, and although my finances are nowhere near where I would like them to be, and I'm struggling and I'm worrying about paying for certain things or where I'm going to get my next meal from, although I'm struggling with those things, I'm remembering that my God has already provided for me, and why would he fail me now? Sorry, I got a little emotional for a second. God won't fail you. God won't leave you when things are tough. You just have to remember that God is there. God is always there. And you just have to trust him. And it's okay if you kind of go off the path a little bit, as long as you come back home. It's like the prodigal child, right? I don't know if you ever heard that story, and I'm probably going to butcher it because I'm not the best at recalling the Bible, but I will be one day because I'm learning. But the prodigal child is like, or the prodigal son, this son, he leaves his father, he goes off and he does all these things that he shouldn't be doing, and then he ends up coming home and he's on fire for God. Sometimes we kind of forget that God has our best interest at heart. Right? Like even for me right now. I mean, this breakup sucks. It sucks. It's hurtful. And I feel like a little heartbroken by it, you know? It's not what I wanted, but it's just kind of what happened. And I have to remember that every night I pray to God and I say, God, and I've probably said this to you before, but I say, God, if this person isn't from you, if anyone in my life is not from you, please, Lord, release them. Please take them out of my life so quick that it gives me whiplash. And then this happened. And nothing bad happened. And we both still tell each other we love each other. But maybe it either just wasn't the right time, he wasn't my person, or God has something better in store for me. God always has something better in store, and I just have to remember that. You just have to remember that. No matter what, God has our back. So when one door closes, another one is going to open 100%. As long as you trust God. Not the easiest concept. And we all have to just remind ourselves of this. To get off this topic for a second, I've had some people ask me some questions on my social media, just asking me about, how to get connected to God. Is it just going to church, or what do you do to feel connected with God? Because I think there truly is a difference. You may know of God, but you might not know God. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. I could know you, I could know of you, but I don't know you. I don't know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what brings you joy, but I know of you. You see the difference? So I believe it's a relationship. The way you call up your best friends is the way you should call up God. Right? Like when you call your best friend and you just want to chat about anything, about the boys or the girls in your life, about your friends, about your parents, about your family, about what you're doing or what you're going to eat for dinner, that's the same relationship that you should have with God, because he's your heavenly Father, but he's also your friend, and he cares for you unconditionally. The way I've worked on my relationship with God, and I'm actually going to get back into doing some of these things because like I said, I've been kind of adrift a little bit, not too much, but just a little, where I feel like I need to kind of jump back on the horse. I really suggest listening to Christian podcasts and following Christian influencers. And some of my favorites are like Ali Yost or Emmy Moore. Those are great influencers to follow. Podcasts are Save Not Soft, Christ with Coffee, Girls Bond Bible. Some of those are really great. Listening to pastors online, find the best ones, the best sermons that you like to listen to those. But also watching movies and shows. Like I watched a show called The Chosen. And when I tell you that that is what kind of lighted the fire for me to know who Jesus was, The Chosen was absolutely amazing for that. And I felt like I understood Jesus more and I was able to have more of a relationship with Jesus because of watching The Chosen. And it wasn't just because of watching The Chosen, but it helped kind of light that fire, ignite that fire for me. And that could be a great thing for you too. There's stuff on Netflix like the story of Mary. I forgot what it's called now. It might just be called Mary. I think it is called Mary. Or the life of Moses, learning those stories, watching them. There's apps also called like the Bible Project where it kind of breaks down the Bible and it shows like little videos and like cute little cartoons just to kind of personalize the Bible for you, make it a little easier to understand. And all of these things kind of give you a face to story characters, and it's just easier for you to kind of, when you're reading, like, okay, I know who this person is, or I can understand, like, I saw that here. I don't know if that makes sense, but just those things have helped me a lot. And also reading the word. Reading the word is huge. Huge. I have not finished the Bible, and that is my goal, to finish the Bible. I'm actually doing something. So if you have your phone, you have the Bible app, you can download that. That's really easy. Honestly, on the Bible app, I've done this thing called I forgot what they're called. They're like little the little projects or like little study guides or something. And you can kind of go through it and it'll read the Bible for you. And it'll break down like a few chapters at a time, which has really helped me because I'm doing like a 90-day book of Mark, book of Luke, and stuff like that. So it kind of breaks it down and it makes it a little easier for me to read. I also have my Bible that occasionally I'll look in and I'll read, but I'll do that while I follow along with Heart Dive by Kanoi. It's a YouTube channel where she kind of goes through the Bible and breaks it down and like explain things and kind of makes it, she'll relate it back to our lives now, which is really cool to understand and to listen to. And all of those things like tied together have helped me a lot with deepening my faith, with understanding God more, and obviously just praying to God, like, help me know you more, help me learn your heart more. Praying those things really helps. And when you feel like God isn't around, or when you feel like God is silent, doing those things help you realize that He's not actually silent. There was another thing that someone had told me, and this is a little off topic, but again, it talks about God, so it's not really too off topic, but someone had DM'd me the other day and said that they feel a little distant from God. And they feel distant from God because they were in an abusive relationship and they have kids with this person and they just don't understand. They just can't wrap their mind around how God can love the person that abused them and love them at the same time. And I was like, wow, I get that. Trust me, I get it because I've been hurt too. Way worse than I would ever want to be hurt, or any situation that I ever want you or I to go through. So I get it. And I said this to her. I completely understand not understanding the way God loves. God loves the person He created. He doesn't love the sin. See, God allowed us to be free. He allowed us to make our own choices and decisions. Because if He would have not allowed us to do those things, that wouldn't be love. He would be controlling us. And that wouldn't be real love. So He allowed us to be free. And unfortunately, with that freedom, we are allowed to either go to God or to sin. God actually hates that sin, but he loves us. See, it's like God is our Father, right? God is our heavenly Father. And if you have kids, or one day when you have kids, think about it like this. If you had a kid that you love so much, you raised them, you watched them grow, you nurtured them, you gave them life, and then they start doing bad things. Maybe they're stealing, or they went to jail, or they're just doing things that aren't what you've instilled in them. Would you love them any less? No. You would hate what they're doing, but you'd still love them. What if your kid was a drug addict? Would you hate them? No. You would love them, but you'd hate what they were doing. There's so many reasons why we could feel distant from God. And I completely understand feeling distant because you've been hurt by someone, or you may not just understand God and how he works. I mean, we are not to understand everything. I mean, it literally says, do not trust our own understanding. We're not meant to understand everything, but we are meant to trust God. We are meant to remember that God has our best interests always at heart. God will always love us. So we have to remember the ways that God has shown up in our lives. It's easy to forget all the blessings we have because of the bad things that people have done to us, or the bad things that we go through on a daily basis, or life struggles that hit us left and right. It is so easy to get distracted and to feel like we're drowning. But I encourage you to write it down. Whether you're journaling or you're writing it in your notes app as like a list, or you're just writing all the things that you're grateful for. One day I want to talk about this topic in like way larger episode, like a bigger episode, a full episode. But I'm just going to touch on one thing. I had traveled to Africa and I went on a mission trip. And I saw how little these people had living in this third world country compared to me sitting here in the United States with lights on me so that I can film this podcast, a roof over my head, sitting on my comfortable bed with blankets, the access to a phone to record this on. And I saw that these individuals lived in huts with grass roofs, no shoes, not even a toilet. I didn't have access to clean drinking water, and that was why I was there to help drill clean water wells. And despite all that, I saw how much joy that they had. They know that they have struggles, and they spoke to us about their struggles and their hardships and how life can be very rough sometimes. But on the flip side, I saw how much joy they had because they didn't care about the trivial things. They don't care about someone not texting them back, or they didn't care about something silly as social media. What they cared about was their love for God, their community, their family, their friends. That's what they cared about, and that was the most important thing to them. Their health. That made them happy. So I encourage you to remember all of the beautiful things, to sit there when you wake up in the morning and to thank God. Thank God for the roof over your head. Thank God for the fact that you can even listen to this podcast because you have a phone, you have ears that can hear, you have eyes that can see, you have a mouth that can speak, your limbs are working, your body is healthy. Thank God, even when you feel like things aren't working in your favor at that time. Because it might seem like that tunnel is so dark, but there is a light at the end of it. I love you guys so much, and I love having these episodes every few weeks with you. I love the community that we've been building with each other, and I'm so grateful for you. You really have no idea. I don't know if there's one of you listening, 100 of you listening, or 10 of you listening. I don't always know. But what I do know is that I'm grateful for every single one of you who takes the time and to listen to this every other week. I appreciate you. I appreciate you trusting me, and just that we're able to go through life together, because sometimes it does feel a little lonely. So thank you for going on this journey with me. Thank you for listening. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode, which will be in 2 Wednesdays from now at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you guys so much. And I will see you later. Bye.